And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at the Unlock series of games. Now I got 3 of them here: Unlock Squeak and Sausage, Unlock the Formula, and Unlock the Island of Dr. Gorse. So anyway, is it Gorse? Sorce? I don't know. Anyway, these are the 3 different Unlock games that there are. I know that there are more on the way. I know that in Europe, all 3 of these are sold in one box. These are from Space Cowboys. These are essentially escape rooms in a box. But these have a couple things. They work with numbers and unlocking other cards, and I'll show you how that works in a second. But they also are reusable. So now I finished this one, for example. I could hand this to you, and you could play it, and then you could hand it to someone else. Unlike other escape room games, there's absolutely no destruction involved in these. Let's take a look now at how they play. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to use some of the cards from the demo game. Each box comes with the exact same demo game. It's a really tiny little game, just so you can, if you've never played before, you can kind of figure out how to play. I'm not going to show you the whole demo game, but I'm going to spoil parts of it, I guess. I don't think this is a big deal at all, but if you do, skip ahead a few minutes and just go to my conclusion. So these are the cards for the demo game. Here are the cards for the Squeak and Sausage game, and I'm not really showing anything away, but you'll see that there's a lot of cards that have numbers and some that have letters in them. The cards are actually in a mixed up fashion because they don't want you to kind of say, well, I know 83 isn't in the deck. So one person's going to have the cards. You're going to have a scenario that starts and shows you where everything is. So here, for example, you're locked in an office, and you see numbers on this card. So this says reveal 42, 35, 67, 21, and 11. So I go to whoever has the cards will go through and go, okay, here's 11. I found the key. Here's 35. I found the desk. I need 42, 21, and 67. There's 67. That's a great. There's 21. That's a door. So 21, 35, 67, 42 is the last one I need, which is here. And that's a television. So the way this works then is you are going to try to get out of this whole situation. Try to get out of whatever you're in. Usually you're locked in something. And you're going to often be doing that. Part of it you're going to be using an app. So here real quickly is the Unlock app. You can see what language. So let's do English. You can do the tutorial, the formula, Squeak and Sausage, the Island of Dr. Goose, the Elite. There's I haven't even played all of these, but when you play it, what will happen is we'll bring this up here, and it's kind of like a screen that you're going to use. This is when you start. So this one here gives me 10 minutes. All right, at different points, I'm going to do different things. I can always press a hint, and it will give me a hint for the game. And when I do that, I'm going to be typing in a number of the card that I want a hint about. Sometimes I need to enter a code in. So here, I might say, okay, 5486 is my code. Nope, that's incorrect, and it just subtracted 3 minutes from my thing. By the way, this does have sound effects, which you might like or not like. And so you have the code. You can turn the music off if you want. Sometimes you might want to look for a hidden object, but this is the thing. Mostly the app is needed for that 4-digit code. Well, how do you get to these 4-digit codes? Well, yellow cards usually need a 4-digit code, so this one here, I need to put a 4-digit code in here to figure out how to get through this door. But I don't know that 4-digit code. Now, it's possible as you look at cards, you might look at a card really carefully and you might find a small number or letter somewhere on that card. There's not one on this card, but you might find one, and if you do so, you can reveal that card right away. So one of the things you're going to be constantly doing is looking carefully at all the cards to see if there's any hidden things on them. Another thing you can do is you can put a blue card and a red card together. You'll notice that they have puzzle pieces here. So I might say, ooh, this key might open this desk. So I say, okay, let's try it. 11 plus 35 is 46. Is there a 46? There is. So I turn it over, and the desk is open. It will now tell me to get rid of 11 and 35, and I do so. And wait, when I open the desk, if you look in there, you see the number 16. Now that's an easy one to see, but there are harder ones. And then I turn over 16, and I find another blue thing. So can I make this blue cord go with this TV? They're blue and red, so that would be 58. And I look, and there is no 58. Sometimes you will find a card like 58, and it will say penalty, in which case you have to go here and press the penalty button, which makes you lose a certain amount of time. So now we're down to 2 minutes and 56 seconds. Now the actual one is an hour, so you don't have to worry about that. Sometimes you have a green card like this where there's various numbers on it which become a red piece, but I need to figure out how do I know which of these to do. And there will be clues to get you involved in there. And that's basically all I'm going to show you from the demo, because I don't want to completely ruin the demo, because it is a good thing to go through to learn how to play the game. But as you can see, as time goes by, you're going to be revealing more and more cards, finding more and more clues, until at some point, something, usually a code or something, will get you out, and then you will have won that particular scenario. Time can also run out and you've lost, but you can still continue to play. It will just kind of count up then after your hour's up, and kind of give you a score based on the number of clues that you took, the number of hidden objects you needed, etc. Okay, so at some point I might go through spoiler versions of these, but I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as I possibly can. But I like the Unlock series. I think that, I really like it. The escape room thing is just something I really enjoy. So the Unlock series has a couple benefits for it. One, they're reusable. So now, like I said, I finished these. I can let my friends play them too. I don't know how good that is for the company, but because everyone keeps playing everyone's passing the game around and playing it. But that is nice. These games are also just a deck of cards and the app. You definitely need the app, but the app is really easy to download, and it's just basically for punching in codes and getting clues and hints. Now, when I showed you that basic walkthrough, it was pretty simple. The games themselves are not that simple. I don't think they're that difficult. I think in order of difficulty, I think this one's the easiest, and then the formula is the second easiest, and then this one is easily the hardest of the group, the island of Dr. Gorsey, or whatever. Just name him Dr. Joe next time. But anyway, each one has a very different feel. The clown one is a little silly. And by the way, if you're afraid of clowns, he's barely in the game at all, just kind of in the background. The island one is the most unique of the three, and I'll come back to that in a second. But the concept of taking cards and putting them together, you're like, well, just put all the reds. Just put the red with the blue, red with the blue, red with the blue. Not necessarily. You have to think. First of all, sometimes you put a red with a blue, and you get a bad, you lose some time on the thing. Sometimes you are just trying to figure out, what am I missing here? What picture on this card will tell me how to do this? And sometimes you got to just look on the cards to look for those little missing numbers and letters. But this isn't necessarily a Where's Waldo game. But at the same time, there's a bit of that in here. So I like that. I think that these are not as good for bigger groups because you have a few cards and you're passing those cards around. The island is definitely built for bigger groups, and I'll come back to that in a second. But the other ones, I think like 3 or 4 is really good. You're back and forth, you have the information, but there's not as much to spread out. And because this is just a deck of cards, you are limited to looking at the different cards and the things on them. Still, I did like them. I don't think I like this quite as much as, like, for example, Exit the Game from Cosmos, but I think that these are really fun in their own right. Except the Island of Dr. Goose. This one here, of all the unlocks, these I really like, okay? These I would both rate an 8. This one I would rate a 3. I really dislike this one. And I'm not really spoiling it. I need to explain how this one works. If you notice, the rest of these say 1 to 6 players. This one here says 2 to 6 players. That's because in this one, at the very beginning of the game, this isn't really a spoiler, it splits you into groups. So if you're playing with only 2 players, each person is by themselves. Now, some people are going to like that and some people are not, because the 2 groups work separately. They really can't communicate to each other at first, and then they have limited communication as time goes by, whatever. I don't want to spoil that for you, but I will say that if you're playing with 2 people, it can be very frustrating because you're working together, now you're working separately, so if one person gets stuck, the other person can't really help them. And that can be a really annoying thing about this one. But even if you are in groups, again, the whole reason I like the escape room dynamic is working together as a group, and this kind of took that away to some degree. And then you did have to work together, but it was basically by talking back and forth and giving verbal references to written things, which I found so frustrating. I mean, this one was we spent so much time on just trying to figure out how to communicate with each other that I felt that it took away from those. There was really neat puzzles in here, but they were taken away from just by, there was just so much frustration in that one for me. On the other hand, I thought these were great. So I guess obviously I'm not a big fan of splitting the party. Well, I didn't like this one. That doesn't put me off in the system. I'm 2 for 3, and it was only the very specific things that this one did. So I'd like to see more of this as time goes by. Unlock is a great system. At some point, folks, I will do a comparison of all the different escape rooms and tell you which one's my favorite. But I'll tell you I like them all. This one I might like slightly less than the other ones, because the unlock and finding the numbers and stuff feels slightly more mechanical to me than the other ones. However, they do a really good job at trying to mask that. Like, for example, you might put a blue card together that is milk and a red card together that's cat. That's not in this game. But that milk and cat as a red and blue card, it makes sense because you're like, here's the milk. Come get the milk, cat. Then when the cat comes, on the cat's back, you find a giant key that you need or whatever. That, again, that's not in the game. I didn't spoil anything. But it kind of gives you that, well, this makes sense. Let's try this. Well, this makes sense. Let's try this. And I think that that's kind of an interesting feature of the game. And they kind of try to hide the mechanical things about adding the numbers together and stuff. But still, I could see it for what it was there. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling at this point. So I'll just say I really do enjoy these two. And I think some people will really enjoy this one. Definitely you want to check out the unlock system. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent, not you.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!